All right, welcome back. It's time for us to go into entertainment, and I have here with me actually my mentor on television, the one person I know that I watched I wanted to be like when I started watching TV because he was young at the time. He's not very young anymore. And very well spoken. Emmanuel Ugolee.
It's good to be here, man.
Thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
Good to be
This
here.
mental stuff was deep.
No, but you're my mentor. I was watching you, I think it was in my early years in university.
Jesus.
And you were on MBI at the time.
Yeah.
You ran the very first countdown show on Nigerian television.
Oh,
period
yes.
for music. And,
my claim to fame.
and you were young at the time. Where did that come from?
I was in my 20s. It was funny. I just finished university. I owe all of that to some man called Mike Ajigbu. He happened to own the TV station, and for the first time in Nigeria, if you ask me, the guy had what it took to give young people the leverage to do whatever they wanted to do, because I had just come fresh out of NYC. And I did a few things that he liked, and he just said, let him run the show. And a couple of other youngsters like me, Adobe Obioha, Judo Dea, were just giving a free hand to do what we could. And it was new at that time because the bulk of the people who ran TV shows and TV director programs, channel content, these guys were in their 50s and 60s. So it was a new thing, and we're happy it turned out the way it did.
And today it's a thing. It's normal now.
Yeah. For young people to be in charge of content that goes on TV. Yeah, that's pretty.
How long did you do that for?
I think for 5 years, about 4 or 5 years.
Then you disappeared.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
What happened?
The sad fact that the guy on TV still doesn't get paid. It's sad. It's 2017. He still doesn't get paid like he should be paid. So back then.
Hello, I'm a witness.
I mean, you should hear the kind of figures that your contemporaries, even in South Africa, earn. Yeah. In Nigeria, it's still a very sad thing that the owners of TV stations and still think that you're just the regular guy who should sometimes earn what it is they can just afford to give to you. So that is the basic reason why I left television.
You wanted more money.
Yeah, more. As a young man, I had dreams, I had aspirations. I knew where I wanted to go at a certain time. But I wasn't going to do that on, was it 13,000 naira?
At the time.
About 13,000 naira. That's what I was earning monthly. And dare to say painfully that was irregular. So
okay.
So I was a tenant for all of my friends. I think I practically lived in everybody's house from from one person to the other, and the whole experience wasn't being funny. Mind you, I already had a diploma at the time in banking and finance. I had a BSc in economics. I just concluded a master's in marketing. So I'm like, am I going to put all of this on 13 grand monthly? So I chose to go to the corporate world intentionally in 2004. That's what happened. That's why I disappeared for a while. Yeah. But I was pretty happy with how much was done before we left, because we had started, like a complete movement, an industry of its own.
Yeah.
If you notice, just after Zaki, when I came to Lagos, they weren't celebrities who were young. The celebrities I met in Lagos who I knew were celebrities when I came were maybe Ramsey Noah was the youngest of them. And Patata, that crew of people who were doing stuff on the NTA. Yeah. There was always Zaki Adze, Onyeka Ogwenu, Majek Fashek. These were the celebrities we met. Lise Benson, the guys who were popular. Gloria Nozier, young, Nobet Young.
At most in their 30s.
These were exactly. So every other person I met, every other person trying to start to say, please, I have a name you should respect. It didn't matter whether it was Plantation Boys, Genevieve. They were all starting when I came. So I came at a time when the movement for young people taking the forefront of entertainment was just about to blow. And I just realized that by some kind of default arrangement, I and a few people stood at the front for the music end of it. So even though I was doing a talk show that brought a lot of the fashion people and the Nollywood people into the limelight, the core thing that we were pushing was music. Yeah. And we had created a new movement that, was now creating a sound, a culture, a people who were now different from Femi Kuti, from Tina Udiwe, from Charlie Boy, who were saying, okay, from this point on, music wears a new face, And the only people who were pretty strong at that moment were, what's Idris's group now? Remedies?
Remedies.
Plantation Boys were coming up a little. But it was basically Remedies. Remedies was about the biggest thing at the time. They were the only ones who had gotten some kind of national attention when we started pushing. But the pushing began, and everybody started coming up from the north, from the east, from the West.
I started hearing names like the band who you put on the chart for the first time.
Yeah, the band. he was excited.
6 Foot Plus.
6 Foot Plus. Yeah. SWAT Roots.
SWAT Roots, exactly. That was what they were called at the time.
Sound Sultan.
Yeah.
Rugged Man. Now these are names that started coming out for the first time on the platform of my show.
Yeah.
And we started pushing the show, but we had competition to face at that time because there was a label, permit me not to call names, at the time where they had the artists in the country, and every artist on that country in that label was considered at the country to be the biggest. And I thought that was a bit wrong. The label was pretty strong, and they used to push their acts like, so they had Paul Play, they had,
Might as well just call the label.
I haven't called anybody's name. Idris. And I listened to rap music, for example. Let's just take rap as an example. I'd listen to rap music.
And you knew there was something there.
I knew that Idris was good at what he did. Let's say good relatively. But I also knew that it got a lot better than what Idris was saying. And he was referred to as the African rapper #1 as it is at the time. And then Idris was called the Golden Boy of Africa. And I'd heard people sing. I'd heard, even though he was much younger then, I'd listened to Jeremiah's voice, Jeremiah Gang. I knew what the boys from Star Plus sounded like. I knew what rap music, how it hit me from SWAT Root, how it hit me from Defo Clan. I knew what Two-Face has lost his voice, I'm sorry. If you heard Two-Face, if you heard Two-Face sing, when Two-Face was with Plantation Boys, even before he joined Plantation Boys as indie raps, it was nothing short of heavenly. The texture of his voice was something else.
So you basically use your show as a platform to let people know
that beyond what these guys were showing this label, that Nigeria had so much more to offer. Yeah. So it happened to become a window that we just pushed open. I don't think the label didn't find it funny because they fought me in a few ways. Sadly, one of it was media. They own the media sort of. So a few things came out about me that were not true. But it didn't bother us because we knew that the movement and the power.
So these things have been happening since.
Oh, from then.
All this.
I couldn't believe when I was reading the things I was reading. It took a few friends who believed in me and who were older, because I was young in Lagos, who tried to find out. And they came back to me and said, "Oh, we discovered that this was written by these people. The whole idea is to discredit you and to make you not look so good as as good as you were looking."
So you said that you went away for a while, you went in the corporate world, but you still had a foot in television. Because like I said, when I say you're a mentor, I mean it, because you actually were running also a show at the time. You're producing a show.
Oh yeah.
I worked for a
telecom company.
Yeah, which I hosted, and that sort of made me cut my teeth, in presenting. This was in 2007. 2009, about that. Yeah, and that was where I think learned the small work that I knew at the time. So you also always kept your pulse or your at least one foot or one hand in.
Yeah.
But then you moved back now, completely back into media in 2015, I believe.
Yeah, 15.
2015 now. Yeah. Now you host a show called The Gist.
Yeah.
Before I talk about The Gist now, looking at the industry you left in 2004 and you came back in 2015.
Came to meet.
Yeah.
So much has changed. Everything has changed. I was telling
for good or for bad or for both?
I think both ways, but more for bad, sadly. More for bad. Bad because quality has taken the backseat.
Oh wow!
It's crazy how important hype is. If you take a hard look at the people in the industry of entertainment who are extremely blessed with the quality of talent, some who have even put training behind what they have, they're the least popular people. They're not in your face every day in the blogs. They're not the ones who come out and people will be screaming. They don't have 1 million followers on Instagram. So that's the thing I met that I was really hurt by. Because what this does is, corporate world, for example, they don't care about anything but numbers. So nobody's going to take a look at but it's a bit different in the United States. It's a bit different in the other places where entertainment drives the economy. Quality is very important. Quality is why the world watches. Quality is why the world respects. Don't think that hype is cool in Hollywood. But my brother, quality is the reason why we are crazy about Hollywood. You go and see Tarzan, you go and see quality is written in your face. That's what you psychologically inside respect, beyond who's marrying Tom Cruise and who's not. But we put all that in front. That's all we're worried about. We're worried about hype. How many? Have I seen you lately? in any blog. You know,
I'm not a musician.
No, you don't have to be. But generally, if you're in the industry of entertainment now, the PR is a must. I agree. You have to be able to, you know, let the mystery of a star.
Sorry,
making it priority is my problem.
Who do we blame? Because I hear this thing a lot where we say, oh, the artists have become, you know, everything has been watered down. Do we blame the artists or do we blame the followers / fans? Is it not what we demand that they give?
I think we put too much power into the hands of the fans. You know, the fan they don't have a forum. They don't sit down and say, let's meet on Friday and tell these celebrities this is what we want.